What's up everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to gain general knowledge and easily remember what you've learned by building an info bank. So what is an info bank and why make one? It's a chart that explains the key takeaways from different topics, informational sources, and pieces of art so that you can easily jog your memory when you refer to the chart. And the information contained in an info bank can be used for a variety of purposes. For example, you can refer to it to find supporting evidence that you can use in an academic essay, such as the AP English Language argument essay. You can use it to answer interview questions about your interests or current events, and just to prep for an interview before you actually undergo one. You can use it to find historical context or references that you can use or write about in opinion pieces, and you can use information in an info bank as background knowledge to be used in debates such as Model UN or Model Congress, and it's useful for any discussion about pop culture. Here's what you can include in your info bank. I've provided a sample layout, just a simple double-sided chart here, but you can really use whatever format you like. On the left-hand side, I have a column titled Topic. So here are a few sample topics that you can potentially include in your info bank. I've included books, pop culture, including TV shows, movies, music, podcasts, etc., current events, influential figures, hobbies, science and technology, and historical events. It's important to note that you should really tailor your info bank based on your personal interests and what you have the most expertise in. On the right side, we'll have our description column, and here is where you'll put key pieces of information about each source or each topic that will help jog your memory whenever you quickly skim over the info bank itself. So here are a couple of things that you can include in the description side. You definitely do not need to include all of them, but here are just a couple of ideas. You can include a summary or key points of a source, talk about the structure of a piece, the biography of the author or creator, the significance of the title, relevant dates and names. This is especially useful for current events or influential figures or historical events. Impacts, relevant sources and website links, themes, symbols, and literary devices. So that really works well for things like books, especially fiction, or even movies. Here's an excerpt of what the books section of my info bank might look like, and I'm going to show you the difference between what I would write for a nonfiction book versus a fiction book. First, we have a nonfiction title, which is We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy by Ta-Nehisi Coates. The structure of this book includes 8 essays that the author wrote for The Atlantic during each year of President Obama's 2 terms. Ta-Nehisi Coates introduces each essay with a reflective piece. So by talking about the structure in my info bank, this allows me to visualize the book and what it was like reading it, and this will really help me refresh my memory a few months down the line when it's been a while since I've picked it up. So this book definitely includes a lot of different topics, so it's kind of impossible to encapsulate it in a brief summary, but I'm just going to include a few sample points that I could potentially write. The book examines the rise of the Obamas in the American public consciousness leading up to the 2008 election and how they used their personal stories to connect with voters. It also examines the legacy of slavery, segregation, and racism today in the context of current issues, including mass incarceration, police brutality, and predatory lending in the housing market. It talks about the history of Malcolm X's activism and examples of pop culture that echo his messages of self-creation and self-love. And it describes the possibility of reparations for African Americans through H.R. 40, which is a congressional bill, using anecdotes from Black families, economic and demographic statistics, and parallels to the reparations agreement between Israel and West Germany. And after including these points, I can talk about the title's significance. The title, We Were 8 Years in Power, is a 1895 quote from Representative Thomas Miller from South Carolina. one of 5 African American congressmen elected during the last decade of the 1800s. I think it's really important to talk about the significance of the title of any work because the title is often offers a glimpse into the most important themes of a text or perhaps a central symbol, which we will see next. Here we have The Crucible, which is a play by Arthur Miller. The setting of this play is the Salem witch trials and a Puritan theocracy in Massachusetts during the 1600s. And this setting is an allegory for McCarthyism or the McCarthy era. So by describing the setting here, it really allows me to remember what was taking place during the time of this play and reminds me that it's a sort of historical fiction text. And here we have the different themes in The Crucible. I've outlined really quick phrases rather than full theme statements just to jog my memory. Some themes are intolerance causes collateral damage, scapegoating occurs out of self-interest, a person's reputation must be preserved at all costs, and mass hysteria leads to irrational mistrust and further chaos. And I'm also going to describe the symbol of fire, which is important because it's described in the title. So fire in this play represents Judge Danforth's hypocrisy in the court as well as the destruction of all morals and freedoms, and it's connected to the titular crucible, which subjects individuals to intense heat or pressure when their innocence is in question. So by just highlighting one symbol that is really important, I think this is more effective as opposed to listing a whole bunch of different symbols that I can't really remember as well. And here I'm just going to describe 2 characters who are kind of the central opposing characters in this play. One is John Proctor, who's a tragic hero who violates his own standards of good moral conduct, but ultimately sacrifices his own life for his reputation. And on the other hand, we have Judge Danforth, who's biased, intolerant, and corrupt, and he claims to prioritize the law, justice, and Christianity, but he's often compared to the devil throughout the play. Next, we have the pop culture section, in which I'm going to talk about one of my favorite shows, Parks and Recreation, and I'm going to follow a similar format to the descriptions of the books that I highlighted previously. So the structure of this show is a mockumentary that offers a glimpse into the daily lives of the employees of the Pawnee Parks and Recreation Department in Indiana. Some themes are building a political campaign and strategy from scratch, women in politics who face sexism and other challenges, the relationship between the media and local government, and the value of being spontaneous versus planning excessively. And my favorite character is, of course, Ron Swanson due to his deadpan humor, ironic career choice, and his secret soft spot for his colleagues. And I didn't really go into any more detail, such as talking about specific episodes, because I just want to have a quick blurb that I could potentially talk about if anyone were to ask me about my favorite shows and my favorite themes or characters really quickly. Last is influential figures. So this section is going to allow me to provide a brief description about people in history who are really pivotal, who played important roles in specific historical events. And this is important not just for my own background knowledge, but also to provide historical context in the future. So one example of some influential figures that I chose is the Mirabal sisters, also known as Las Mariposas. So they protested against Trujillo's dictatorial regime in the Dominican Republic by establishing the underground movement of the 14th of June. And these 3 sisters, were assassinated by Trujillo's men on November 25th, 1960, and the United Nations designated this day as the annual International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. These 3 sisters are really important because they're seen as feminist icons and symbols of democracy who continue to inspire countless people around the world. Comment down below with examples of what you would include in your own infobank. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and tap the bell to receive notifications whenever I make a new tutorial. I will see you next time.